Representatives. Here to give his take on this, much more, Chairman of the House Budget Committee, Wisconsin Congressman, former Vice Presidential candidate, Paul Ryan. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Sean. How are you doing?
I'm sure you're aware, a lot of conservatives, including myself, are angry. No border security first. How do you feel about it?
Well, look, you mentioned the Senate bill is coming to the House. We're not going to bring up the Senate bill. We're going to do it our own way, on our own time, in a very methodical way, because we want to make sure we get this stuff right. We think those things that were in that amendment were improvements. They brought the Senate bill closer to the House's position, but we want to make sure we get it right. We want to have real triggers on the border, real triggers on what we call the E-Verify, which is basically another way of saying if you're not here legally, you can't get a job. And so we want to get those things right to make sure that this bill works, because we want immigration reform that works for our country, that works for national security, that's good for our economy, and we don't want to be in the same boat 10 years down the road. We want immigration reform that lasts so we don't have the same problem 10 years later like we've always had last time we've done it.
Is securing the border first a top priority for you?
It is a top priority for me. It's important for the trigger as well. But so hear what I say. What we're talking about the House is we're saying people who are here undocumented, because we realize we can't deport 11 million people and find them and deport them. So we want to put them on a probationary status. That's the kind of thinking we have here. And they can't get out of that probationary status. They can't get legal permanent residence, which is what Chuck Grassley was talking there, until these border efforts are made, until the border is secure, until the E-Verify is set up. And we don't want to leave it to the executive branch, like Janet Napolitano, to make that decision. We want objective metrics. We want Congress's auditing arm, the General Accountability Office, to tell us whether or not these metrics have been met, whether or not the border is really secure, whether or not the verification system is up and running. And only until that has occurred can a person in this status change their status from probation to something else other than that.
So my sources have been telling me, Congressman, that you guys are considering a 5-year temporary legal status, and then if the border security measure is not met in 5 years, that would be revoked.
That's right. That's right.
I don't believe that would ever happen.
Well, look, they can't get what a person would want to have is they'd come out of the shadows, they'd get put on probation, they'd pay taxes, pay fines, learn English, learn civics. If they break the terms of their probation, they can be deported. And if the border is not secure by that time, if the verification system is not up and running, they can't get, not only does that status go away, they can't get legal permanent residence. What we want to make sure is we want to make sure that people who didn't do things the right way make amends with the law, acknowledge they didn't follow the law, but also get at the back of the line so that people who did things right, people who came here legally in the first place, who waited in line, who paid the fees, that they get through the system first. And the point we're trying to make is if you want to get this population, the undocumented population, in legal permanent residency, get them a green card, then these other things have to happen first. The border has to be secured. The E-Verify system has to be up and running. That's the kind of system we're talking about here in the House. We think the Senate border bill brings it closer to our position, but we're not going to take up their bill. We're going to do it our way, and this is what we're talking about.
But what I'm hearing you say is you're still giving them legal status first, albeit temporary. And I think I speak for a lot of people, Congressman. Most people see that when we're promised spending cuts, we get the tax increase, we never get the spending cut. We get the amnesty, we never get the border security. Why wouldn't you support something such as expediting building the security measures in? I mean, we sent men to the moon. Couldn't we do that within 12 months, 18 months?
Sean, we look at the system we have right now. We don't even know who's coming and going in this country. We have no control of the border, but more importantly, people are using other persons' IDs to work in this country. We want to get undocumented immigrants to come out of the shadows to actually give us their real name, their real identity, to get them in a situation where they're not taking someone's identity. We think it's important to get legal immigration working in order to secure the border, to do it this way. This is not giving anybody an amnesty. This is not giving anybody a break. It's saying you got to pay a fine, you got to pay your taxes, you got to learn English, and oh, and by the way, you got to actually use a real Social Security number and your real identity. We think that helps secure national security. We think that's good to do, and we think that's important while we secure the border. The point is people are already here in the country. They may not be in the country using their identity. They may not be in the country using their legitimate Social Security number. We want them to do that, and we think that's important as part of this. That's hardly an amnesty. That's basically getting people right with the law, making them make amends with the fact that they didn't do things right, and then putting them in the back of the line. We don't think that's an amnesty. We think that's smart and good rule of law policy.
All right, so what you say is temporary legal status. Why do you blame me for being suspicious?
Not at all.
That it would never be revoked whether or not the border was ever secure, and that's why I think myself and a lot of conservatives are saying, don't we have a right to have sovereign borders, and that done first? Why not do that first?
Sean, I'm suspicious as well. You know why? Because none of the past reforms ever worked. 86 didn't work. 96 didn't work. So, of course, we're suspicious. But we also believe, based upon the experts we hear from the border, that the best way to secure the border, among the best ways to secure the border, is get the economic immigrant, the person coming for a job, to come through the front gate with a guest worker card so that we can better interdict the criminals, the terrorists, the drug smugglers. See, what we've learned is the border's being overrun. And if we can get the person who's an economic immigrant who wants to come for a job to go through the front gate with a guest worker card, that helps us interdict the people we really don't want coming in this country, those people who are coming to seek us to do us harm. So we think legal immigration that works and is viable is the best way of securing the border. It's sort of a wide gate, high fence approach, and we want to make sure that people who are coming here aren't taking jobs from people who are already in this country. And there are sectors of our economy, like agriculture, that need work. We want to make sure that these high-tech people come here to help create jobs. So we need a workable legal immigration system while we get the border under control and have an employment verification system, because illegal immigration and identity theft are sort of one and the same thing.
You know, I'm listening to you, and obviously you put a lot of thought into this. I talk to a lot of conservatives. They write me. They're writing me right now on Twitter, and I can predict for you what the answer is going to be. If you don't trust the government, and I don't trust the government, and we can send a man to the moon, why don't we just secure the border and expedite it immediately? Make it a national security priority, and then deal with these other issues. Why is that not an option for you?
Because in order to secure the border, you have to have a workable legal immigration system that people who are trying to come to this country to work have a way of coming here legally. You can't just seal it off. You need to make sure that people can come here legally. And we also have to remember, we've got 11 million people in this country who are undocumented, who either overstayed their visa or crossed the border illegally. What are we going to do? We're not going to be able to find them and deport them. We have to find a way of dealing with this population, and we want to do it in a way that respects the rule of law and puts them at the back of the line so that everybody who did things right,
can't you do that after the border's secure, though?
We think it goes with the border. We think it's the best way to secure the border is to have this workable legal immigration system alongside it. By the way, we don't trust the executive branch. We want Congress to verify this.
I'm concerned that there's going to be a conservative revolt and a divide in the Republican Party. Are you at all worried about that?
Of course I'm worried about it, but I want to get it right. I want it to work. I want to make sure that we're not in the same problem 10 years from now. I want immigration that's good for our economy. I want an immigration system that protects our national security.
All right, Congressman, we'll take the temperature of everybody. We have a very lively audience here, but we do appreciate you taking the time to be with us. Thank you.